Hello, students. This is the flipped classroom for the Cold War. You should turn to the second page of your blue packets and then turn to the page entitled The Nuclear Age, 1945 to the Present. This video will encompass the superpower rivalries, so you can put your notes for this video right in this first box here. All right, so when we left class, we discussed World War II, some of the causes and some of the effects. The lasting effect of World War II is going to be the fallout of the Cold War. And here we have a picture of the big three at the conference at Yalta in 1944. Seated at the center is President Franklin Roosevelt. To his left is Joseph Stalin, leader of Russia. And to his right is Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And these were the three major allies during World War II. By the war's end, in May of 1945, however, Franklin Roosevelt is dead, and Winston Churchill gets voted out of office. So by the spring and summer of 1946, at the Potsdam Conference, Franklin Roosevelt is replaced with Harry Truman, and Winston Churchill is replaced with Clement Attlee. Joseph Stalin is the only remaining original member of the Big Three. And already there are tensions between the Western countries, the United States and Great Britain, versus Russia. And we're going to talk about some of those problems today. The only thing that really the United States, Great Britain, and Russia had in common was their hatred of the Nazis. The United States generally did not care for communism and the Soviet Union. All right, so the first thing you want to get down was that after World War II, there were only two major superpowers in the world, the United States and the Soviet Union. And as we have discussed previously for the past couple months, both had a tremendous difference, both politically and economically, as well as for the goals of their people. Okay, the United States operating under a capitalistic free market system, the Soviets operating under communism. When we talk about the Cold War, we're talking about the battle basically between East versus West. And what does that mean? Well, East is going to be anything Russia, the Korean Peninsula, and even China, and parts of Eastern Europe. When we talk about the West, the Western allies, we're talking about the United States, Canada, and parts of Western Europe. So in your notes, you want to get down that the Western allies include the United States, Belgium, Britain, Canada, Denmark, France, Italy, and Iceland, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Greece, Turkey, and Spain. Meanwhile, the East includes the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republics, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, and East Germany, Hungary, and Poland. Now, why is there a difference between East Germany and West Germany? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. Because at the end of World War II, it was agreed among Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin that Europe would be divided. So the countries of Europe are basically being partitioned off. For example, North Korea gets divided. Vietnam gets divided. Berlin and Germany, that we're about to see right now, also get divided. So immediately following the Cold War, we have something called the Truman Doctrine, which was named after President Harry S. Truman. And basically the Truman Doctrine is we will send money into Europe to support free people who resist communism. It is basically buying support for people who oppose communism and will stay on our side. It's basically paying for allyship, paying for friendship. All right, I like to use the example of a young lady who has two potential suitors. One man is a guy that she likes very much. The other man is a guy that's very rich and can give her nice things. Well, who is that woman going to go with? She's obviously going to go with the person that gives her the nicer things. The United States gave millions of dollars to Eastern European countries that helped resist communism. There are two theories that you need to be familiar with. Number one, there's the domino theory. And number two, containment. And the domino theory during the Cold War was very simply this. It was the thinking that communism was spreading almost like a cancer. And that if it spread from one country, it would go to another country, and then another, and then another, and another. And before you know it, the entire world would be dominated by this totalitarian rule of communism. To counter the domino theory, the United States came up with containment. And this was the United States' policy towards the Cold War. We agreed that we could live with communism in the world as long as we could contain it, keep it to where it could not do us any harm or damage. So we can live with communism in East Germany as long as it didn't spread to West Germany. We could live with communism in Poland as long as it didn't spread elsewhere. We could live with communism in North Korea as long as it didn't spread elsewhere. So that was the major doctrine and kind of the thinking during the early stages of the Cold War. We wanted to resist communism where it existed. And what you will see when we get to the modern day is that this Cold War, which lasted from 1945 to 1989, really shaped the world that we live in today. And a lot of the current political problems and political borders are drawn based off of communism and the Cold War. All right, so that is going to conclude our first segment. So make sure you have those notes put in Rivals for Superpower. Our next video dealing with Cold War conflicts, I'll talk about the specific kind of the hot zones in between the United States and the Soviet Union.